So I'm delighted to be with Sara Nasralla. How do I pronounce your surname, Sara, properly?
Pronounced it right, Nasralla.
Nasralla. And I love the bike behind you, but today is not about triathlons. I'm not doing any triathlon interviews or anything like that. It's more about your property journey. You're coming along to Wandsworth this coming Tuesday evening, which is a really popular meet. Very, very popular. It's focused on the younger property professionals who are between 18 to 35 and their journeys, what they've learned. So, can you tell the listeners a little bit about your background? And I know you're really keen on triathlons. I know you're working with Hugo as well. So at some point in this interview, we might discuss a little bit about your business relationship with Hugo and how you met and what you're doing together. So in terms of your journey in property and where did it all begin?
So it began, I think, with most people buying my own flat. And so that was only in 2013, so not that long ago. And then I think particularly in London, you can see the capital uplift, but you also see the potential there and in the surrounding areas and the regeneration. So I'm East London based, and how it develops and changes. From there, we went on to buy 2 buy-to-lets. Now I have a very small portfolio here in East London, and I was still working full time. So that was something that you've just mentioned that you'd like me to talk about. I was working full time in business development and marketing for branding and design studios, so a very creative environment. Not dissimilar, I don't think, to starting something myself, because it's all about growth and helping companies to grow. So something now coming into property that I see as a strength. It's still really hard, but it's the sourcing and acquisition side. And I think that's from sales and marketing. It's all about relationships. Yeah, so I was full-time, but jumped out. So I've had a bit of a mixed past, including living in Spain and running a business there and moving back. So then I actually took quite a big jump from full-time into freelance. Did some freelance while building up the property side of things, and now do freelance within the property circle. So for Property Investor News, actually, for Richard Bowser. And then have the development stuff running concurrently, or trying to build that concurrently.
Okay, so for Property Investor News, you do their design work? Is that more or less?
No. I just do them. I'm helping him to do some marketing and growth stuff.
Okay. So in terms of why property, because there's lots of other different assets which people can get involved in, and you mentioned you ran a business in Spain as well. So you've got experience of possibly outside of property. So what was a draw to property as such?
Interestingly, looking back now, I didn't even realize at the time, but I was running a hostel there. So that was a massive rent-to-rent serviced apartment business. I suppose, if you were to use the terms that we use here. Property in particular is because I love the tangibility of it. I like the creativity. I like the fact that you can work alone, but also partner with really interesting people. Obviously, when I look at a business that I wanted to do, and even now when I look at other people's businesses and go in, there's no point, this is just my opinion, but there's no point investing all of that time, energy and risk if there isn't money in it. And property is a lucrative industry if you can do it right. It's also high risk, high return, but the opportunity is there. And then on the other hand, it's also, I suppose you always have the physical assets. So as much as it's high risk, high return, there's also an element of safety to it.
Sure.
I think that's what appealed to me. And then obviously you can be as creative as you want to be.
Just a few things. So you've pushed the boundaries at a young age in terms of moving from full-time to freelance, to more or less being a full-time investor and having the freelance possibly as a backup as well, or an added extra. You mentioned about your work in Spain. Didn't hear which part of Spain, Sarah?
Northern San Sebastian.
San Sebastian in the Basque country or Basque area. Um, and recently you've linked up with Hugo. So Hugo's an architect from the Bristol area. Have I got that right?
No. He grew up in Oxford, but is pretty much London based, North London.
Okay, okay. So you met up with Hugo. You formed that relationship. I'm not sure that's a JV as such, but you're working together. How did you form that particular relationship? Um, was it through a networking meeting?
Yeah, we did meet. We met at networking events. We actually met at a Susanna Cole event. Um,
And that's where the Bristol Connection is.
that's where the Bristol Connection is. So do you know what? What's interesting there is we spoke quite early on and we explored partnering together early. But this relationship has developed over 7 months now, I think it is. 7, 8 months ago of us talking really frequently. There's been a couple of times where we have, butted heads, but then actually being able to resolve that also has shown the strength that's there, because I think it's unrealistic to think that you'll always get along with someone. You're going to kind of have that push and shove and that give and take, but it's finding your feet from there, or being able to work together and communicate well to come to a mutual understanding, I think. So yeah, he's really interesting, and he has helped me enormously because, as you said, he's an architect. So he's got this architect perspective. He's got this deep understanding of planning, which he's helped me. So, even just assessing a deal and seeing what the opportunity is, but then also the precedent around it from a planning perspective, and how likely is it that you would get planning on it, even if it's something as small as, a loft conversion or an extension. So that's been super interesting. And then even being able to draft up some designs. So then when I'm looking at the BBV, I know how many units we need. He's able to actually bring that to life. And then I think you buy into it so much more. And then, no, but last one is having someone to bounce off of. So having someone who's at a similar level to me, when I'm having a bit of a rough day, he can lift me up and vice versa. And then
Sure.
just around.
Is Hugo still a full-time architect and then an investor stroke, would you say?
I wouldn't say full time. He's a bit like me. He also jumped out of work, so he's doing some architecture projects, private architecture projects with his own practice.
Sure.
He's a full time investor, yeah.
So, in terms of people listening to this interview who are thinking of coming along on Tuesday, because there's a wealth of knowledge there. You've got Alex Harrington Griffin, who just 33, makes me feel old. So he's chairing the panel. You've got the likes of yourself, Jackie Toms. You've got, I don't know how you persuaded Ryan, but as I've openly said, look, I can't guarantee Ryan will be coming along to another meet because somehow you managed to persuade Ryan, who is based in Lincolnshire, to come down to London. You've got the likes of Rob Wilkinson from Develop With Us and Rocco Versace from Avamore as well. I'm just curious about your tribe background. Has that really helped you in terms of property by pushing boundaries?
I think it's the same trait that makes you want to do stupid things like marathons or triathlons or push yourself physically. And it's that constant striving that's probably the same as starting your own business and going into developments as well. So, I want to do some really exciting projects in the next year. And so I think it's the same. It's that same hunger and drive.
So, Sarah, I just want to say huge thanks for taking time out this morning. How can people find out more about yourself if they can't make this Tuesday, if they're somewhere else possibly on Tuesday evening, maybe overseas? Are you on Facebook or LinkedIn, or what's the best?
Yeah, I'm on all the normal social platforms. So I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Instagram's a really nice way to connect with me. I love Instagram. Snapchat I'm on, although just dabbling with that. I'm also attend a lot of networking events. So if you see me around, come and say hello.
Sure. So your surname, because it won't display on the interview afterwards, is Nasralla, Nasralla, and Sara, Sara. So just want to say huge thanks for taking time out this morning, and
Thank
huge thanks to the listeners as well. Thank you.